What is up, guys? DT here. We're going to be doing something slightly different. Today we're going to look at this error code 42 when trying to log into Guild Wars 2. So a lot of you are coming back to Guild Wars for the first time in a long time, or maybe for the first time ever, with the game going free, with the announcements of raids, etc. Heart of Thorns coming up really soon. And a lot of you are running into this error. So hopefully we can kind of debug what the possible errors, since there's many of them that could possibly pop up from this. And, maybe shortcut you to actually gain a hold of support. So, on with it. Whenever you try and log into the game, just kind of detailing the actual issue, try to log into the game, click, type in your password, click log in. The spinner will spin for about 20 seconds, stop, and you get this error 42-09001. The game client is unable to gain access to the login server at this time, most commonly caused by a firewall, etc. So going through the possible issues, none of these worked for me until the very last one, which I'll detail, but just let you know that all of the possible fixes did fix it for someone that I found, and this was kind of a step-by-step process of increasing craziness. So the first thing you can do, obviously, is add Guild Wars to your firewall. In this case, I have Windows Firewall. Windows Firewall allow apps or features through change settings, and you scroll down to Guild Wars 2. Make sure that both those two guys are checked. If you have some other firewall application, obviously make sure that Guild Wars 2 is allowed through both publicly and privately through that firewall. The next possibility that you can do, which is actually pretty neat, let me get rid of this, is you can actually, inside the Guild Wars 2 folder, here's the Guild Wars 2 application, you can right click and say, let's see, where is it? Shortcut. Create shortcut. What create shortcut does actually is if you right click on properties, you can see that the target is actually what you want to run. So in this case, this shortcut wants to run Guild Wars 2.exe. And you can actually add command lines afterwards. And what a command line actually is basically you want to run a program, but then also run it with these parameters that do certain things. So you want to run a program that does very particular things. And Guild Wars actually has quite a verbose language of command lines, arguments. So for example, just to kind of show you what this would look like, they have a nice little Windows shortcut. You go into the properties and exe, you can actually add these command line arguments afterwards, and they look like dashes with like words and stuff. So for example, there's an asset server, so you can connect to a particular asset server. I use that when trying to download the game because the game just would not download for me for whatever reason. So like if you go into here, you can see properties. I had this originally as an asset server. And so, let's not jump ahead actually. So, the one that I actually used trying to fix this particular issue is authentication server with a particular string. In Guild Wars, there's actually a pretty neat little German site that someone created where it has all the different Guild Wars servers. So here's like the authentication servers for Europe, North America, the diagnostic servers, the asset servers, which is what we use to download the game, and the client gateway servers, which is the initial connection. So, or actually, I think it's actually the game talking back and forth between the servers. So, I'm in North America, so I want to connect to the North American game servers. So I would copy this. I'd go into properties, and right after the quote, I say authentication server, auth server, and I just copy and paste. Get rid of the port also. You don't really need the port. Just copy and paste. Now I'm connected to 64253851. This is caused ahead of each of these data groups, whenever you're trying to connect to the authentication server, there's actually a load balancer that evenly distributes people between all the servers. It basically says, hey, are you European, you need to go here, are you US, you need to go here, and stuff. And then between when you're in the US server, you might get slotted to this guy, this server, or this server, or this server, etc. And what these servers are is they're different spots in the US. So there's a neat website called iplocation.net. You can just type in what's my IP or something like that, or what is it? IP, find IP, that's right. You can type in find IP into Google and you'll come across this guy. And you can actually copy and paste, get rid of the port, query, and you can see that this particular IP address is for the United States. If you had picked a different server, let's just say this authentication server Europe, and paste it in, you can see, let's see, oh, that's not the right server. That went to my server, to my location, didn't it? Interesting. It's for it says for Europe, but that is a Austin server. Maybe it's getting confused. I'm not quite sure. Point being, let's grab this server. 12. That was a failed experiment. Germany, there we go. So this particular server IP address is for Germany. I have no earthly idea why the last server went for Austin. Maybe it is in Austin. I have no earthly idea. That sounded kind of weird though, but maybe. So yeah, you can find the server that's closest to you, probably the North American if you're in the US, everywhere else probably Europe, and connect to that manually. Once you type in that command line, what you'll really want to do actually is go into, we'll close this out, go into command line. So, right click on command line prompt, run as administrator, yes. And then you can type in ipconfig /flush DNS. What this guy does is there's a DNS configuration on your server. Basically, whenever you go out to a website, there's a lot of different possible paths you can kind of go down. This is going to save the, I believe this actually saves the path. I know it saves the IP address for whatever you're trying to connect to, so that you can actually get that faster instead of trying to go through your DNS entries and try and find it organically. So just in case it's like a connection issue, like you're being routed to the wrong data server, like if you're in Europe and you're being routed to North America or vice versa, or maybe you're just being routed to the wrong server through your DNS, you can flush your DNS and force a connection using this IP address. The other command you can do, just to make sure that you really do actually flush all of your possible DNS entries, your cache, and your website and your WebSockets. Excuse me. You can run netsh winsock and then reset. And this basically kind of does the same thing. I'm not going to go into the details of what exactly this does. I'm not sure 100% myself even sometimes. I hear all sorts of different possibilities. If you want to post in the comments, you can tell me. But basically this resets your Windows socket connections, so that kind of the same idea as the flush DNS. You're just not getting rid of your DNS entries, you're actually getting rid of your local Windows socket entries. And you can run that. Windows socket entries, I believe those are on the router, I think, possibly. I can't remember offhand. Get rid of that. You'll want to restart your computer afterwards. After doing that, your computer starts back up. You can right click on that shortcut and say run as administrator. And that might work for you. You'll force the authentication into a particular server and it should work. If that doesn't work, then you're kind of in my boat. So for example, I was running in admin mode. I was running in Service Pack 2 compatibility mode, which actually I should show you. That's probably a good thing to show. So you can actually click on this under properties, have compatibility mode, and if you're running if you're running Windows 10 or Windows 8, you can try running Vista Service Pack 2 or Windows XP Service Pack 3, one of those stable builds, and see if that works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The other thing you can do is inside the bin folder, there's a coherent UI _host application. This is the application that runs all of the UI inside of Guild Wars. And I think actually that main window also, I'm not quite sure actually, probably not, but it at least does the Blackline trading post connection. That also you can run in compatibility mode. And sometimes some people have found actually if they add this coherent host to their firewall, I can't remember if I did that or not. Now let's see if I did coherent UI to their firewall. That helps to, let's see. No, I actually removed that. So I did have it, but then I removed it because it wasn't useful. So let's back up. The other thing you can do in my email that I sent to the Guild Wars guy is you can actually specify a particular client. This is yet another command line argument. Oops, that you can run. So Guild Wars connects through port 80, 442, and 6112. Those are all port 80 is the open port. The other two are private ports. I guess you could say SSL. They're secure connections. It's ports essentially. Those are the ports that most games run through nowadays. I think Minecraft doesn't, but most other games do. And just in case your computer doesn't have it set to one of those ports for whatever reason, you can actually force it to. So that worked for some people. Did not work for me also. So like I said, flushed my DS many times, ran WinSock reset a couple of times, and also disabled. This is a good point. So I disabled. NVIDIA has a couple of programs that run that can get in the way of actually playing Guild Wars and also running the authentication server. This didn't work for me, but I've read on, both on Reddit and a couple of places on the support that this did work for people, where they basically go into their processes, under background processes, basically their services, and they got rid of basically everything that has NVIDIA in front of it. So all the backend services, all the GeForce Experience service, settings, streaming service, etc., stuff like that. Just in case one of those was getting in the way of actually running Guild Wars. So you can actually just right-click on any of these and end task on them. They're not going to affect your video. They're not going to affect really anything. It's just more of a experience service, essentially, keeping track of how things are actually working on your machine. So tried all those things, still nothing worked. Finally gave up and got a hold of support. Sent this big long email, tried everything, and they actually had something interesting to do. So obviously there's support, right? So they actually had a program called Game Advisor that you download. You run it, and it kind of gives you this massive dump file that looks like this. Whereas all of your settings, all of your services, all of your config files, any possible devices and all sorts of crazy stuff on here. So it's everything like you'd ever want to debug an actual computer. So it also has some trace routes. You can see here's a nice little trace route going from my server to one of their authentic debugging servers, I can imagine, and all sorts of cool stuff. So sent it to them. About 2 hours actually after I sent it, they actually got back to me, which was with some pretty impressive information. What it actually ended up being for me, which is I think it's going to happen for a lot of people, is I had a program called Relevant Knowledge, which actually came with my computer, that I remember because the first day it actually popped up on my screen before I even connected to the internet. It was just like, hey, I'll show you what that looks like here in a sec. But it was a relevant knowledge service that was running in the background. And whenever I looked, I actually saw it in the background processes. I actually thought it was a Dell configuration or a Dell preset program that was running. But what it actually is a malware. So malware removal instructions. It's a pretty neat little website. Has all sorts of adware knowledge, and yeah, this is the exact screen that actually showed up once in a blue moon. This shows you how to get rid of it and all of the registry keys. One neat thing, real quick, tangent again. Another tangent. One of the programs I downloaded that I really like, I use this at work quite often, is CC Cleaner. Any professional programmer or tech guy probably should have this on their computer. This get rid of all your temporary files, all of your cookies, all sorts of stuff. But it also has a neat registry cleaner, so you can see any missing DLLs. If you install programs that install registry keys, you can get rid of them and stuff like that. That's how I cleaned up these registry keys instead of actually going to reg edit and trying to do that manually, because that's just a big pain in the butt. So anyway, neat website. Definitely download CC Cleaner. Scan for issues. I think I'm clean at the moment. Yeah, I'm all clean. So So yeah, so that actually ended up being a malware. So went in, deleted that malware, and sure enough, lo and behold, I was able to run Guild Wars just fine and log in as you saw just a couple seconds ago. So hopefully y'all don't have any malware on your machines, but if you do, then that might be doing some packet sniffing, which is causing you not to be able to connect to the authentication servers. I know. So yeah, so you know, if none of these other options try, definitely get a hold of support, and they'll get you that program. I might actually even offer that as a possible download in the comments section. I'll have links to all the different sites that I listed up here also. And if you have any questions or if you have any comments, please leave them below. I greatly appreciate it. Definitely check them all. And I hope you have a great day. Enjoy playing Guild Wars. Thanks, guys. Bye.